we are back here again today, me and Nigel.
Hello.
Amazing to find you here, Nigel. To find you here. This is how Nigel and I talk to each other at the moment because he's in China. But anyway,
yeah, that's right.
We've got a few things to talk about today, haven't we? The first one being, the whole hangout's going to be lies upon lies upon lie, lie upon lie upon lie upon lie. But we were just talking about Trump and Biden and all that. I wanted you to explain that to the public.
Okay. No doubt you remember that when Trump said, "I am the chosen one," right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people were up in arms when he said that because a lot of the, there are a lot of Christian people in America and so on and so forth. And this show is not going to be for Christians. I absolutely promise you. So if you're a Christian, then you better sit down. And if you don't want to sit down, then don't listen, because this is just going to blow you away. So what we've got all the world to stage. Everybody's playing their part. But Trump comes along and says, I'm the chosen one. Loads of people are up in arms. Now, for those people that actually know the basics of the Bible, in the New Testament, the people rejected Christ. They rejected Jesus. What we're seeing now is the rejection of this Christ figure, i.e. being Trump, and the bringing in of the Antichrist figure, which is, of course, Joe. And, I've said for a long time, it's interesting that his last name is Biden, B-Y-E-D-O-N, Biden, bye. It's all not allegory, it's all scripted, everybody's just playing their parts. But for us, or for a lot of people out there...
Actually, Nigel, can I just stop you? Everyone's welcome here on this hangout. It's just that you're going to explain nothing's as it seems, nothing, not even the Bible. And
nothing's as it seems. And look, I've had a lot of shit for this. I wrote about this in my book. What I'm going to show you today, I've been writing about in my books for 3 years, all totally explained. It is deep. I'm going to try and not make it as deep as I go to in my books. So hopefully you'll get it. But all I'm kind of saying is I'm putting a little bit of a warning out there. If you're a Bible bashing Christian, then you're likely going to get offended, not by what I say, but what I show you. So what I'm going to present tonight are purely and simply factual, written, scriptural information that anybody can go and check for themselves. For their fact checkers out there. So. This isn't Nigel's opinion. This is essentially evidence. So please don't anybody attack me personally for what I'm going to show you.
You're the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger. That is the main thing here. Yeah, is don't shoot the messenger. So if we just put use the biblical context with the Christ being rejected by the people. And the acceptance of the Antichrist, and that's what we're actually seeing being portrayed here, right? It's like a play, it's like a movie, it's just all scripted, it's all entertainment. But the fact remains is that, people get emotional, people get upset, people get angry because they feel that this kind of thing impacts their lives. And to an extent it does. We're all seeing that. Every one of us has seen that over this time.
If it's your belief system, it will.
Yeah. And people need to understand that the word believe has got L-I-E right in the middle of it. So people need to understand.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, people need to understand that belief systems are very, very powerful. Very powerful. I mean, I've met some, throughout my life, I've met some people who are deeply, devoutly religious, and their foundation is based on what? Well, a book that they don't even know who wrote. It's just purely and simply a belief system. Oh, Nigel, it's faith. Well, yeah, it is, but what's faith? Faith is belief. So,
and instead of believing in yourself,
yes, believing in others.
Believing in a book.
Yeah. So if you want to go down this rabbit hole, there's a bit of a preamble to start with. We'll run through some of the stuff that's actually going on right now, and then I'll get into some of the details.
And I'll get first, and then we'll get into your bit.
Then I'll get into the deeper stuff.
Actually. Isn't it? It's all your bit, but carry on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. One
second, you're not sharing on the computer. You're sharing on the. Oh, that's it. Let's say you are. Yeah.
Yeah. It usually takes a second. Right. So basically, since you and I spoke last, which is only a few hours ago, but for those listening, there's an 8-hour time difference between me and Karen. So I'm like 8 hours ahead of the UK. So while Karen was getting her beauty sleep, I spent a few hours and put this PowerPoint presentation together. It is what it is, right? All I'm doing, I'm delivering information. I'm showing you information. So shall we go? Are you ready?
That's it. We're ready.
Okay. This is something that I saw today. Very, very not important, but very connected to everything that's going on. So we got this guy, Sidney Powell. We've identified 450,000 ballots cast for JB only. So they only have his name on. So they're very suspicious. But what I want to draw your attention to is the paragraph below the photo. Canadian company Dominion Voting Systems has come under intense scrutiny following allegations made by attorney Sidney Powell that Democrats have used their electronic voting technology to steal the presidential election. Now, I'll show you who Dominion Voting Systems are in a sec, but let's go to the next one. Now, if you look at the gold, where you've got Andy Beshear and Matt Bevin at the top, you can see Beshear's got 673,948, and Bevin's got 662,235. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, in the blue and the red, you can see those exact same numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now look, a split second later, Beshear is up to 674, Bevin's down to 661, yet the numbers haven't changed in the boxes at the bottom. They're still as they were on that screen. So on this one, we've got 673 at the top, 673 at the bottom, and Bevin's got 662 at the top and 662 at the bottom, right? Can you see what I mean? Split second later, 674, 661, but they haven't changed at the bottom. But lo and behold, in a split second, 560 votes were taken away from Bevin and given to Beshear. In one split second. 560 votes when they're counting, yeah, okay. But then in one split second, 560 votes get transferred from Bevin to Beshear. Literally in a nanosecond. The guy that did this had to do it frame by frame, literally, in order to catch it. So, pause for a moment and consider that a widespread election software system that was used in virtually every swing state is called Dominion. If that doesn't send chills up your spine, nothing will. And this again connects back to what we talked about previously, the Genesis 1 biblical creation, when the Elohim told the first creation to go out and have dominion all over the earth. In other words, to control it. And here's a little bit more about this dominion. In 2014, Dominion Voting committed to providing emerging and post-conflict democracies with access to voting technology through its philanthropic. It's always got to have philanthropy in there, isn't it? Support to the Delium project. Okay, so this is talking about the Dominion voting voting system. Nancy Pelosi's long-time chief of staff is a key executive at Dominion Voting Systems, whose software was used in all the contested states where glitches occurred in favour of Joe. Also, Dianne Feinstein's husband is a significant shareholder in the company. You can't make this up. Now,
I don't like that word, Dominion.
Yeah. Now, this is a quote. This is something that Q put out. No, I'm not on the Q train, not at all, but there's a lot of people out there who are. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 1863. Now, you know, I'm not going to go into the rabbit hole as to whether or not Abraham Lincoln existed in real life or not. It's not the point. The point I'm making is that a couple of days ago, mail-in ballots were part of a plot to deny Lincoln re-election in 1864. And this was put out August 22, 2020. Oh, by the way, in case you've forgotten, today's the November 11, 2020, which gives us 11/11/22. Master number, master builder number. I know you don't like numbers, Karen, but, you know, just like nothing.
Yeah, they're just not the numbers are
right.
Yeah, demonic, I think.
So, well, actually, they're not. They're not. They're neither good nor bad. They're just what they are, right? It's like
in reality, they're what they are, but they're just,
you know, it's like I can take a pair of scissors and I can use it for cutting paper or stab somebody in the neck. Not that I would, but you know what I mean. Nothing is in that way is good or evil. You know what I mean? Same with a knife and fork. You can use it to eat your dinner, or you can go and do some harm with it. So same with numbers. They can be used for both. So this is following on from this Lincoln nonsense, where it says the following day, Wood, whoever he was, watched as Donahue and his crew formed a sort of assembly line, passing blank papers along to one another to be signed with names of active enlisted men, wounded and dead soldiers, and officers who never existed. So this is just the same game plan being repeated over and over again, because the controllers of this realm can't come up with, they can't create anything. They can only take...
Yeah, because they did it. They did this with the White Dove in the 70s. I think it was 70s. We had the Q, but they were called the White Dove, and everybody's forgotten about the White Dove.
Yeah, well, it's the same with...
They found out that was a woman in the back of a van.
Yeah, it's the same with... It's the same with what you and I were talking about the other night about the swastika and how it used to be used for good, and it got twisted. It's the same as the anti-nuclear symbol. It's the same as the Spock, you know, the V, the hand signal, Mr. Spock's, you know, where he splits his two left and two right fingers. You know, they've all got good and bad connotations to them. So the point I'm making here is that there's nothing new under the sun. They can't create anything. And again, this goes back to the first podcast we did about the two biblical creations. The Genesis 1, first creation, Genesis 2, which was where one of the Genesis 1 creations created Adam and Eve from the dust of the ground. And then you have the third one. For those who missed it, you really need to go back and have a look. It was it was only a few days ago. We were talking about the Mandela effect and what happened. I brought all this into it. And where you have in Genesis 6:2 that it says the sons of the Elohim, i.e. Genesis 1 creation, saw that the daughters of Adam were fair and they took them for their wives, which created the hybrids. So what you've actually got, you've got the Genesis 1, which was a creation. Then you've got the Genesis 2, where the creation had already been created, and then it was kind of created again. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just copied.
It sounds like an experiment to me, but carry on.
Look, look, if you go into your kitchen and you create an absolutely beautiful, wonderful looking, delicious cake, magnificent, then if I say that's great, can you make another one? What are you doing? You're copying the first one. You can only create something once. You can't create it again. Just call it creation. So it all ties in. It'll all come together in a minute. Now, I wanted to touch on this. This is the Archbishop's open letter to President Trump about the Great Reset. I'm not going to read all of it because it's quite long, but it starts off, allow me to address you at this hour in which the fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. I write to you as Archbishop, as a successor of the apostles, the former apostolic nuncio to the United States. I'm writing to you in the midst of silence of both civil and religious authorities. May you accept these words of mine as the voice of one crying out in the desert. So again, we've got this Archbishop, again, connected to religion, connected to the Bible. We have this whole connection, as you'll see it all play out. Okay?
Yeah.
As I said when I wrote my letter to you in June, this historical moment sees the forces of evil aligned in a battle without quarter against the forces of good. Forces of evil that appear powerful and organized as they oppose the children of the light, who are disoriented, disorganized, abandoned by their temporal and spiritual leaders. You shouldn't have any spiritual leaders. You should be your own spiritual leader. Daily we sense the attacks, multiplying of those who want to destroy the very basis of society. Well, that is true. We can see that going on. You know what I mean? That is actually, we are feeling the effects of that. The natural family, respect for human life, love of country, freedom of education and business. We see heads of nations and religious leaders pandering to this suicide of Western culture and its Christian soul, while the fundamental rights of citizens and believers are denied in the name of a health emergency that is revealing itself more and more fully as instrumental to the establishment of an inhuman, faceless tyranny. Can't agree more. The global plan, called the Great Reset is underway. Its architect is a global elite that wants to subdue all of humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of entire populations. In several nations, this plan has already been approved and financed. In others, it is still in an early stage. Behind the world leaders, who are the accomplices and executors of this infernal product, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum and Event 201, promoting their agenda. Now, I want you guys to hold that thought. Behind the world leaders, who are accomplices and executors of this infernal project, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum, Event 201, etc. We're going to come back to the unscrupulous characters, and I'm going to show you who they are. I'm going to demonstrate who they are, and I'm going to show you that the Bible will tell you who they are. Okay?
Okay.
I've got to keep checking in case, you know what it's like, we're on these. I get kicked out.
To make sure I'm still here.
I've got to make sure, basically. Okay, so the purpose of the Great Reset is the imposition of a health dictatorship aiming at the imposition of liberticidal, I don't even know if that's a word, measures hidden behind tempting promises of ensuring a universal income and cancelling individual debt. The price of these concessions from the International Monetary Fund will be the renunciation of private property and adherence to a program of vaccination against COVID-19 and COVID-21 promoted by Bill Gates with the collaboration of the main pharmaceutical groups. So, renunciation of private property, that means you will not be able to own anything unless you adhere to the program, the vaccination program. You're not going to be able to own anything. Beyond the enormous economic interests that motivate the promoters of the Great Reset, the imposition of the vaccination will be accompanied by the requirement of a health passport. We're seeing this in Ireland, trying to roll it out in Ireland, and a digital ID, with the consequent contact tracing of the population of the entire world. Those who do not accept these measures will be confined in detention camps or placed under house arrest, and all their assets will be confiscated. Play our game.
Doesn't it? Consequent contract tracing. So it's nothing to do with having an injection for anything other than they want to track you.
They want to trace everyone, track everyone, yeah. They want to know where you went for your lunch. They want to know what you had for your lunch. They want to know everything.
Can I say something, Nigel? I saw that in the Heart programme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I said I looked up Heart. It obviously says the sky and people's minds, and in it there was a chip.
Yep. That's what they're trying to do. We've got to make sure. Look, the only way we can win is not to comply. Non-compliance. That's the only way we can win. Okay.
But that means the whole world has to non-comply, and at the moment, there's loads of people that kind of believe in the system.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
But there are a lot of people waking up. I mean, we're seeing these protests and that all around the world. But the rulers don't care, and that we're just cannon fodder to them. So that's essentially what they want to do. Until a few months ago, it was easy to smear as conspiracy theorists those who denounced these terrible plans, which we're now being seen carried out down to the smallest detail. No one up until last February would ever have thought that in all our cities, citizens would be arrested simply for wanting to walk down the street, to breathe, to want to keep their businesses open, to want to go to church on Sunday. Yet now it's happening all over the world, even in the picture postcard Italy. Okay, so if more and more, if people want to read more of that, then I'll send you the link and you can put it in the description. I've got it somewhere. So that's the agenda, right? That is what is going on. Now let's try and put everything.
We've talked about that anyway, haven't we? We know that's we've talked about it.
Yeah, but there might be people watching this that haven't seen the other stuff, so it doesn't help to just to recap. Now this document here from the government, American government, the FDA. Very deep in the document on page 39, in a section titled "Performance Characteristics," we have this. And it's a quote: "Since no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 nCoV are currently available, designed for detection of the 2019 RNA were tested with characteristic stocks of in vitro transcribed full-length RNA." Okay, so basically what they're saying is, since no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 virus are currently available, every object that exists can be quantified, which is to say measured. The use of the term quantified in this phrase means the CDC has no measurable amount of the virus because it is unavailable. In other words, the CDC has no virus. It does not exist. It is the flu. Exactly as I have been saying and screaming from my lungs since January the 28th. They're actually admitting we haven't isolated it. And yet they're preparing a vax for something that really doesn't exist. This is what people need to wake up to.
Yeah, because they want to chip us. It's nothing to do
it's all a lie.
Because they want to chip us.
A lie. Yeah, it's all a lie.
They want to chip us.
I saw a little clip from that Deborah Birx, Fauci's right-hand creature.
Nigel.
And she actually...
So why? Why do they want to chip us? Why?
It's all about control. Because they don't want us to know who we are. They don't want us to realize who we are. Again, it goes back to the Adam and Eve creation in the Bible and in other ancient texts that I went to at length in the other video, where this so-called God says, let us create a primitive man, shall be his name. Let us create a primitive man in order to serve the gods, so the gods may have their ease. They were trying to create a slave race to serve the first creation. This goes back to the Enki and Enlil story. It's all connected. It's all the same story, just told using different characters. Okay, so what they're doing is, this Burke's creature, she actually said that
basically, Nigel, basically this whole thing with Trump is just a distraction so they can carry on doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But yeah, Deborah Burke's Deborah Burke's actually stated in a video. I'll try and find it. I know it's embedded in the video. I can send it to you, and maybe you can pull that a little bit out. But she actually stated that the flu doesn't exist anymore. The flu no longer exists. The only thing we have now is virus 19. That's it. She actually stated publicly that the flu no longer exists. Are you hearing me? Not you, but are you guys hearing me? She stated the flu no longer exists. It's gone. It's all the virus now. That's all. That's all it is. Everything's the virus. I've said all year, every time from now on, every time somebody gets a cold or the flu, it's going to be called COVID. The common cold and the flu no longer exist. Every time you get a snotty nose now, you've got COVID. It's all brainwashing.
Which is the reset, isn't it?
Well, this is what they're trying. This is the buttons they're trying to push. So, a further tip-off is the use of the word isolate. It means no isolated virus is available. Another way to put it, no one has an isolated specimen of the COVID-19 virus. No one has isolated the COVID-19 virus, therefore no one has proved that it exists. This is CDC, this is FDA information on their websites. People can find it. The link's there. Well, you can't click on it, but you can. It's an easy one to write down and copy. And you've got to go to page 39. It's buried on page 39, but you'll find it. It's there. It's all there. So it's a con job. Now, this is interesting. This came out yesterday, I think. Researchers warn some COVID-19 vaccines could increase the risk of HIV. Well, HIV was another Dr. Fauci complete nonsense. Never existed. It was another creation. So just more scaremongering, more scare tactics.
Just keep saying the word virus. Don't keep using that COV thing.
Right, okay. Now, this is a quote from Oprah Winfrey back in the late 80s. And hello, everybody. AIDS has both sexes running scared. Research studies, this is experts say, now project that 1 in 5, listen to me, hard to believe, yes it is, 1 in 5 heterosexuals could be dead from AIDS at the end of the next 3 years. That's by 1990. 1 in 5. It's no longer just a gay disease. Believe me, it's all about belief. She's already put hard to believe, and then at the end she's putting believe me. This was Oprah Winfrey. It was more all BS. CDC, 1/4 of young adults contemplated suicide during the pandemic. This is something that's just come out as well. Again, fear porn, fear mongering. This is a famous, wonderful doctor in the 1918 flu.
Oh my God, they look alike.
Yeah. People died from a bacterial pneumonia caused by wearing masks. Dr. Fauci wrote about this back in 2008. Search online if you want to read it. The Dr. Fauci on the 1918 Spanish flu. It actually wasn't the masks, I don't believe it.
That's what didn't happen last time. Not enough people were wearing the mask all the time and getting pneumonia.
Well, it was either, I've got a lot of information to say that shows it was a bacterial pneumonia, but then there's an awful lot of research that points towards people were running out demanding the Jackson Nation, and that's what killed them. Or the whole thing was complete nonsense. I mean, what they're saying today, the 9th, 2 days ago, that 50 million people across the world, there are 50 million cases 2 days ago. Now, they're not saying that there's 50 million deaths, there's 50 million cases of the flu, of the common cold. Big deal. But it's just all scare tactics. They're just trying to frighten people into being scared of other human beings. You can't catch.
And then to have the chip.
Yeah. You cannot catch any kind of virus from another human being. A virus, what is called a virus, it's purely and simply your body having a clear out. Your body's having a detoxification. You know, I think I told you, I've got a little desk fan that I bought during the summer because it gets hot here. And I only had it for a month before I had to stop, before I didn't need to use it anymore because the weather cooled down. But you want to see those fan blades, Karen? They're black. Now, where did all that dirt come from? Out of the air, the same air that I'm breathing. Well, I can take the fan apart and clean it, but I can't take my lungs apart and clean them. So my body does it. I have an immune system, the same as we all do. So when your body wants to clean the fan, in this analogy, I get a cold. It's just my body getting rid of waste. It's detoxifying. And they want to give us a vaccination to actually prevent our immune system from doing its job. You know what I mean?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Which is why, you know, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. It's an old one, but this is why the sun gets blocked out. This is why we have the lockdowns, the 2-week lockdowns. It's to stop us from getting sunlight. It's to stop us from getting vitamin D. Vitamin D is what we all need in order to maintain a healthy immune system. That is basic, simple, easy to find research that people can do on their own. What's the best thing for a healthy immune system? Vitamin D. Where do you get vitamin D? The sunlight. So when you want people to have a weak immune system, you block out the sun, you lock them down for 2 weeks, you make them wear a mask. And then they're going to get sick because they've got a weak immune system, and then you can blame the virus. It's all so easy. When people comply, it's all so easy for them to pull this off. Okay, are you ready to get into the deep stuff?
Go for it.
All right, we're going to be taught. I've got these two slides.
Big enough already, but carry on.
Right, I've got these two slides in the wrong order. So, I'm going to go to Revelation 13. Revelation 13 is the one that talks about the mark of the beast and so on and so forth that people are so scared of. And I'm actually going to put this whole thing in perspective, and I'm going to expose something that a lot of people are not going to like, but, you know, again, don't shoot the messenger. So we're talking about Revelation 13, or we're talking about the book of Revelation as a whole, but in particularly Revelation 13. Now, I wrote about this guy in my first book. His name is Francesco Ribera, and he was a Jesuit theologian from the Franciscan bishop of, you know, whatever it was, right? So he was a Spanish Jesuit theologian, lived from 1537 to 1591. So again, we're going back to the same time period that we've been looking at historically, which is back to the 15th century. So this guy comes along just a few years later. Now, he when we go to his life, it says where he was born. He joined the Society of Jesus, which we know the Jesuits, and taught at the University of Salamanca. Now, he wrote this book. I'm not going to try and read it out. It's all in Latin here, right? So he wrote this book. Now, this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing for people to get their head around. In the late Middle Ages, during the Protestant Reformation, some commentators sought to identify the Antichrist with the Pope of the time, so that figures from the book of Revelation might not only be interpreted as representing figures in the past, such as Nero, or in the future, as in the last days, but also in the present time. Ribera in 1585 began writing a 500-page commentary on the book of Revelation, titled the same Latin title, proposing that the first chapters of the Apocalypse applied to ancient pagan Rome and the rest referred to a yet future period of 3.5 literal years. So everything that is read, all the prophecies that are read and talked about in Revelation have all happened. It's all history, all of it. Then this guy comes along and wants to try and protect the Pope, because at the time, during the Protestant Reformation, everybody thought, a lot of people, the Protestants thought that the Pope was essentially the Antichrist. So this guy Ribera comes along and says, well, look, writes a 500-page book, sends it to the Pope and says, why don't you do this? Now, don't forget, the King James Version came out in 1611, and this guy's written to him in 1585. So that's very, very shortly before the KJV came out in 1611. So he made a suggestion to split Revelation in two. Okay, we know half of it, or we know it's all in the past, but why don't we make, at least 3.5 years of it and put it into the future? So that's what he did. That's what they did. And that's why people are scared of, the Revelation 12 sign, the Revelation 13. It's all in the past, all of it. They've lied and they're trying to make it look like it's going to happen or it's happening now. Okay?
They've done that anyway, because they were talking about flat Earth up until the 1990s. Then we were more on hard copy, documents like this. And then they omitted it for 20 years. And then when it comes back, everybody goes, what's this new? Because people have forgotten. It just takes a couple of decades. That's all it takes.
Absolutely. So this is literally from Wikipedia, and we know that they're really, really trustworthy, but this kind of stuff they don't mind getting out there. I mean, while I wrote my book, I did fact check this. I went to Encyclopedia Britannica and found pretty much the same information. So what they did was, in order to con everybody, because back then people couldn't afford a Bible. The only way they knew the Bible was if they went to church and somebody read it to them. It wasn't until 1611 that the Bible was made widely available to the man in the street. So essentially, he suggested that the latter part of Revelation be made to look like future prophecy. That was done in 1585, and it was carried out, and that's what we see in the Bible today, and this is why people are worrying, connecting it. But it's all over. All the biblical prophecies have already happened. So we're going to get into Revelation 13. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to read the points that are really, really interesting. And this is going to blow some people's minds. So it begins, let me just check that. Yeah, it begins, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10, what's that word? Crowns. Ooh, crown, corona. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Then it goes into line 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Let me highlight that. The beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. So we have this beast of Revelation, who essentially looks like, or represents 3 different creatures: a leopard, a lion, and a bear. Agree?
Yeah.
Right. Also interesting that this is in Revelation 13. Show you another reference to that in a sec. So, what we're looking at now, the next line, and I saw one of his heads were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Now, the amount of people that I've seen online that are referring to Trump as being the Antichrist because he got the virus, and within 24 hours he was healed, right? So this deadly virus that's killing so many people, Trump gets it, but then 24 hours later he's cured. So his deadly wound was healed, right? This is what the kind of shit that people throw at me all the time. But the problem is, when we go down to the beast out of the earth, and we go into this particular verse, in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. It clearly states he was wounded by a sword and lived. Here it says the deadly wound was healed. So people are making this connection that Trump must be the Antichrist because he got the virus and it was a deadly wound and his deadly wound was healed. Well, no, because it's a contradiction right here. And it clearly says that the wound was done by a sword and he did live, so his wound was healed. Right? So that throws the Trump is the Antichrist notion straight out of the window. Now, this isn't
is that to do with his impeachment?
No, that was just something that they were trying to do to get rid of him, and that was something that they were playing up to the people.
They all play together, so it's just part of the script.
Yeah, but the script was with the impeachment was just to show that we don't want Trump, we don't want him, we're going to get rid of him, so we're going to impeach him. And then you have this follow-on with the selection where, oh no, the people don't want you. We don't want you, we try to impeach you. Now the people don't want you re-elected. Again, getting back to the Antichrist figure from the Bible. So Trump a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago, when he says, I am the chosen one, that was done deliberately, of course. That was all part of the script. And then people are going, well, oh no, he's the Antichrist because his deadly wound was healed. He caught the virus, and 24 hours later he was okay. So his deadly wound was healed. But the easiest way to contradict that is to use the Bible itself and show people that he was wounded by a sword, which had the wound by a sword and did live. It's right there, right? Talking about the beast out of the earth. Now, we were talking about a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. So leopard, lion, bear. Now, get ready. We go into Hosea 13. Now, Hosea is much earlier in the Old Testament, but it just happens to be the same chapter 13. Now, I want you to look halfway down where you can clearly see God's anger. And we're going to read it. Number 4, it says, yet I am the Lord. When you see a word in italics like this, it's added by the translators because this was originally written in Hebrew. So I am the Lord thy God from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me, for there is no Savior beside me. I am your Savior. It's me, 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 me. I am the Lord God. This is the Genesis 2 creator God. This is the God that made Adam and Eve as a slave race to be of service to the gods, aka the first creation, biblical creation. Okay? Now, what we need to do is we need to see who's the Lord? Who is the Lord God? Well, I've written about this in my books. This little website is pretty cool. It's called Bible Hub. And I kind of took a screenshot with my cursor hovering over the word interlinear. It's shortened to interlin. And what that'll give you the English or the Greek or Hebrew. The Greek, the New Testament's in Greek, and the Old Testament is in Hebrew. And in Hebrew, it is read from right to left. So you click on the interlinear, you go to the verse that you want to check out and see what the original Hebrew means and get the exact translation. So what I've done, we want to see who is the Lord. So we click on interlinear, and we go to verse 4, 13:4, we read it right to left. And yet I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh, your God. Ever since the land of Egypt, and God, no God but me, you shall know. Besides me, there is no Savior. So the Lord is Yahweh. It's right there. It's in the blue. And if you click on the number, that tells you how many times it actually appears in the text or in the Old Testament. So we are happy that the text is telling us that the Lord in Hosea 13:4, in the interlinear 13:4 states, and yet I am Yahweh, your God. Happy?
Right, carry on.
Therefore, this is Hosea 13 again. We just moved down the page. You can see number 4 here. Yeah, I am the Lord your God. So we go down, verse 7. Therefore, I will be unto them as a lion and a leopard. By the way, I will observe them. I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved of her whelps. And I will send the call of their heart, and there will I devour them. Like a lion, the wild beast shall tear them. Yahweh has just admitted in Hosea 4 that he is the beast of Revelation. Do you want to go over that again to make sure you've got it? Or have you got it?
Go on then.
Okay, so let's go back up to Revelation 13. Okay, the beast which I saw was like, well, let's go to the first bit. I stood up upon the land at the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And I'll explain that as well in a minute. Upon his horns were 10 crowns. So these are 10 kings. These are 10 powerful people. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth was as the mouth of a lion. So the beast is like a leopard, a lion, and a bear. Okay? That was the deadly wound. Okay, so now we're in Hosea 13. I am the Lord thy God, from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me, for there is no Saviour beside me. The word Lord, what does it mean? In the interlinear, we see that the Lord is Yahweh, and yet I am Yahweh, your God. Okay? I am Yahweh, your God. And then later, 3 verses later, in the same Hosea 13, I will be unto them as a lion, as a leopard. By the way, I will observe them, and I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved of her whelps. In other words, I will meet them as a bear that's essentially been has lost her cubs, and I will rend the core of their hearts, which is the core, and there I will devour them like a lion. The wild beast shall tear them. So Yahweh is admitting quite clearly. Now, people can say, "Oh no, it's open to interpretation." Well, if you can say that I'm wrong with this, or you think that I'm wrong with this, then you better have some pretty good evidence, because there are many biblical quotes and passages that I could use to prove that Yahweh is not a good guy, essentially. But here we're basically talking about the beast of Revelation, and the beast of Revelation is now Yahweh has admitted to be the beast of Revelation. Okay, with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the last part that people panic over, the mark of the beast. Now remember, as I said earlier, all prophecy, all prophecies in Revelation has already come to pass. It's history. They're trying to rewrite history, make it look like prophecy. Well, it's quite easy to prophesy an event if that event's already happened, and you're just trying to tell people that it's going to happen in the future. you're not prophesying anything. He's just rewriting what's already happened. So he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number.
That's not the M. That's not the M's on our hands, is it?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. And again, people are panicking that if they don't take the Jackson action, that they can't go out and buy or sell. What do you need to buy or sell? In order to transact, what do you need in order to buy and sell?
Money.
You can't buy and sell unless you've got money. And you've got the mark of the beast has got to be in your right hand, which is most people are right-handed, or in their foreheads. When you transact, you hand money over. Usually you hand it over with your right hand if you're right-handed. And the connection to foreheads, if you haven't got any money, you've got to think about, well, where can I get some money from? How can I earn some money? So you've either got it in your hand, or you're thinking about it in your head, your forehead. And that no man might buy or sell unless he has that mark. Well, that mark is simply money. The name of the beast or the number of his name. What do these have on them? They have a number. They have somebody that represents the beast system, because the beast system is all about politics and banking. The name of the beast or the number of his name. Well, the name of the beast, we're in the beast system. So we've got, in the middle, we've got the American dollar, we've got the Chinese yuan, we've got the Thai baht. You know what I mean? So the name is the name of the country. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man. We went through this. Charles II created the beast system in the year 1666, which is 666. That's when the beast system was created. Last time we talked about the Roman numerals. That, you remember you said that we used to see them on the BBC. MDCLXVI. M is 1,000, D 500, C 100, L 50, X 10, V 5, and 1 is 1. If you add them all up, it comes to 1,666. We know 1,000 years was added to the history. 666. So that is the mark of the beast. Whether it be paper or coins, it doesn't matter. That is the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast system. You see it?
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay. Now, here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man. A man. These are all men, except the queen. Okay, so if you're living in a particular country, your mark has the number of a man. The number of a man. These are all guys. And the number is 666 because it's connected to the beast system. Now let me explain what the beast is and how it all connects to the beast system. I stood upon the sand of the sea and I saw a beast. We know who the beast is. We know what is represented as the beast, which is Yahweh. A beast rose up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And stood upon his horns were 10 crowns. Well, crowns signify what? Crowns signify power. They signify kingship. They signify ruling over you. Who rules over us? These guys. So what could these 7 heads be? Oops. 7 hills of Rome. Who's basically in charge of the world? The Vatican. Where's the Vatican? I'll wait. So your 7 heads are your 7 hills of Rome, the Vatican. So what about the 7 horns? Hang on a minute. Oh, okay. Let me take a step back. I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. The sea, a sea of people. It's nothing to do with water. It's nothing to do with the ocean. I saw a beast coming out of the sea, a sea of people. I found this Mesopotamian mythology. This guy, this Oannes, an amphibious being who taught mankind wisdom. Described as a Babylon priest, Berosus, had the form of a fish, but with the head of a man under the fish's head, and under his fish's tail, the feet of a man. In the daytime, he came to the seashore of the Persian Gulf and instructed mankind in writing, the arts, the sciences. Oan was probably the emissary of, how would you pronounce that? Yah, E-A, Yah, the emissary of Yahweh, coming out of the sea, God of the freshwater deep and of wisdom. Okay, well, let's just recap a little bit there. He took the form of a fish, but with the head of a man under his fish's head. What might that be? Oops. In case you missed it. He had the form of a fish, but with the head of a man under the fish's head. Oops. Does that look like a fish's mouth to you, Karen?
It does. We've done this before with that.
Right. Well, hang on. There's more. There's more. And under his fish's tail, the feet of a man. Oops. Oops.
Yeah. Oops.
And just as one final photo, I know this guy is no longer Pope, but I really wanted to find a really nice image of the previous Pope just to show people out there who really are clueless what they are revering and what they are essentially worshipping. Now, if people can't see that that is some kind of demonic, evil creature, then they must be blind. So that's basically how it all connects.
He's not very photogenic, is he?
He's not what?
He's not very photogenic.
No, not that guy. I don't think he got married either for some strange reason. But yeah, so there's the fish's tail with the feet underneath. There's the fish's head with the man's head underneath. It's all there. All connects. Sea of people. 7 hills of Rome. Beast coming out of the sea, rising out of the sea. 7 heads. 10 horns. Now, who might the 10 horns be? Let's just go back to that for a second. Having 7 heads, which we know is the 7 hills of Rome, and upon his horns were 10 crowns. 10 heads, 10 crowns. Who are we ruled by? The IMF, the WHO, the CDC, the World Bank, the banks of international settlements, the Bank of London, the Vatican we've already mentioned, which will be part of it. Washington DC, the head of military, the City of London, the head of finance. They represent the 10 horns, the 10 crowns, the 10 heads with the 10 crowns, the beast system. And the ultimate beast, the ultimate control of the beast of Revelation is the biblical God, Yahweh. He is essentially the entity that's been in charge for the last God knows how many years. I don't think he's here anymore. I think he's gone. That's why the whole system's all crumbling and it's all falling apart. And that's why they're doing what they're doing to us this year. in order to try and just retain control. Because up until now, up until the point that people started to wake up, people were just getting on with their lives. They were just going to work and paying the bills and so on and so forth. But then the governments have got into so much debt with the banks that just print money into existence from out of thin air. We need to do a podcast on the great mortgage fraud. That's going to blow some minds as well. If people haven't been down that rabbit hole, that is absolutely insane. But people were going along with it, and they're not going along with it anymore. They're starting to push back. So the system is pushing back against the people, and that's essentially what we're seeing with 2020. So there you go.
Or do you think that it's because the people are waking up, and so they had to do something?
Yeah, I think they're worried that too many people are waking up. This is why we're seeing the censorship that we're seeing on general social media, across
really
all.
Happy you have.
No, but we're seeing it across all platforms. We're seeing it across all platforms. So because they're worried, they don't want people waking up in the way that they are. But I tell you what, a lot of people have woken up, to this virus nonsense. Although today I went out to town and just about everybody's wearing a mask. It's absolutely insane. All voluntarily, by the way. There's been no announcements. Nobody's been told to wear a mask. They just, it's cold, I better put a mask on.
Yeah.
People driving cars by themselves with a mask on. It's just insane. Absolutely insane. But they believe what they see on the TV. See, they believe they're overlords. They believe the big daddy government wants to help them. When really and truly, big daddy government is just part of the beast system. And and again, people have got to get out of their heads the idea of Satan. Satan, there is no Satan insofar as it's like one dude, some red dude with horns. Satan means adversary, which means enemy. And when it comes to the Bible, it's quite interesting if we look at the word adversary, adverse, to adverses, to the scriptures, to your script.
It's really strange that they keep using it and wanting people to be frightened of it, but they are it. So the thing they're telling you about is the thing they are.
They're putting it in front of your face. But you see, this is why, I've already seen a headline pop up tonight that before, even before Biden, it said before Biden gets sworn in, then he's possibly going to face a nuclear standoff with North Korea. So as if the virus isn't enough, they've now got to bring North Korea back in because they've always got to have a bogeyman.
I saw that. I told you, World War III.
Yeah.
In the papers.
They've got to have the threat. They've got to have the threat of World War III. They've got to have the threat because they want people scared, in a state of fear. When you become scared and you're in a state of fear, you get stressful, your immune system doesn't work properly, you get ill, and then they're going to go, oh, you've got the virus.
That's what they probably did with World War II, isn't it?
Yep. So it all plays into their agenda. The whole thing is playing into the same agenda. But they can't think of anything new.
Because by the time they get there, everybody will have had enough. It'll be months and months of lockdown and all this other stuff.
The only thing that can get a virus is a computer. And back when, at the dawn of the internet, people like Microsoft, etc., were creating viruses just in order to sell antivirus software. But the whole idea was to cement the idea that viruses can infect. I can send you an email, and if there's a virus with there, that virus is going to infect your computer. So they planted this seed that viruses can infect, but they can only infect a computer because a virus is just simply a program. They can't infect human beings, but they fed us this lie for so long. This video went viral around the internet. They've been rubbing it in our faces for the last 25 years. And it's all culminating in this because everybody thinks they know what a virus is. And believe me, well, don't believe me. Don't believe anything. Go out and check it yourself. But a virus is simply a computer code or a computer program that affects computers. You can't catch a virus from another human being or any living, breathing animal. You can't. It's simply your own body detoxing, having a clear out, getting rid of all the crap that's been in the air that you've been breathing, the same kind of black dust that's on my fan that I only ran for a month. I only used it for a month. And that's essentially what it is. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors that have come out and said this now. It's been a huge learning curve for so many people, and even doctors and nurses are now realizing that they've been lied to all their careers about what a virus is, because it's all been heading towards 2020. It's all been in the planning for decades, long before we were born. We were born into a movie script, halfway through not knowing what the hell's been going on, accepting everything for what it appears to be, thinking and believing everything's real, when it's actually quite the opposite. The only thing that's real are us. Once we know who we are, that's it. This whole realm can just go and fall apart. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just a movie. It's just a play. Really, really hard to get your head around, guys. I know. I've been working on this for years and years and years, and but I finally all the pieces have come together, and I can see the whole shit show for exactly what it is.
People see it. The awake people see it. It's the people who are not awake who don't see it, because they believe.
Yeah, and I think
we don't they? They belie the system. Believe,
yeah.
lie the system.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is this. We are now getting to a point with, a lot of these channels like yours and mine and so on and so forth, and it's great that we have our lovely subscribers come and watch, but I'm worried that we're going to end up purely and simply preaching to the choir, and that isn't going to be good enough, because okay, so I might have presented some stuff here today, but some people who are wide awake are going to go, oh shit, I never knew that. Oh wow, I'll go and look into that. Which is great. That's why we do what we do. But at the end of the day, if we're only going to be if the truth community is only going to end up preaching to the truth community, then we're not growing. We're not going anywhere. It's the sleeping normies that we need to help, and we need to try and wake up. And we're not going to do it with all of them. We're not going to do it because some of them are total hybrids. They're NPCs. I actually heard someone today. I forget who it was. I was watching a video. I forget who it was, and maybe he watched our podcast. But he actually said the serpent in the garden was Jesus, and I'm like, yeah. Jesus, as in Jesus, was the biblical serpent. And this guy, and I'm thinking, great, you're getting it, dude, you're getting it. The serpent in the garden was a Jesus figure from the first creation, telling the second creation what had been done to them. And I'm like, whoa, great, awesome. So people are waking up, people are getting what they didn't get before, even those who, they've been down all the rabbit holes and so on and so forth, but they're still not, they're still holding certain beliefs that are not, that are completely different to what we've been taught. This is why I keep saying it's not always about lies. It's all deception. Everything's deception, with a few lies thrown in for good measure. So people believe the serpent in the garden was the bad guy because that's what the Bible paints him out to be. But in reality, no. The serpent in the Bible was a Elohim creation from Genesis 1:27, going and telling Genesis 2 creation, hey, this is what's been done to you, dude. Trying to make sure they still retain the divine spark.
It's awful.
I've never known you lost for words.
Well, no, because I was on YouTube and my phone turned around and I couldn't get the button back to put on.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd gone quiet on me for a minute. I thought, oh my God, she's speechless. Hey?
No, I'm never speechless, Nigel. You know that. Mind you, you're never speechless either.
I know that, yeah.
You're never speechless either. Can we just? I'm going to pause the recording a moment because I want to show you something at this moment. Hang on. We're back now after the discussion, but carry on. Right,
I found that clip of Deborah Burks. It's on the Dollar Vigilantes channel, Jeff Berwick. So just give this a listen. It's only a couple of seconds. I'll do it twice. Listen carefully.
There is no longer any flu.
In partnership with CDC and state and local governments, utilizing the surveillance systems that are available, what we just talked about, the flu surveillance system, because we no longer have flu, we no longer have flu, we no longer have flu.
Fauci's other partner. So let me just run that again.
There is no longer any flu.
In partnership with CDC and state and local governments, utilizing the surveillance systems that are available, what we just talked about, the flu surveillance system, because we no longer have flu, we no longer have flu, we no longer have flu, because we no longer have flu.
Right, so now it's official, guys. We don't have the flu any longer. How insane is that?
You said that at the beginning, didn't you?
Yeah, but I did. I know you're recording this as it is, but I know I did say I would send you the link, but I just went back and found it. So, as I say, it's only like a few seconds. So, at least we've got it. We've got it now. So, yeah, we don't have the flu anymore, guys. There is no more flu. It's gone forever. Been replaced by the virus. The virus is going to get us all. I made a little video, like a little TikTok video, back in January this year. Just being a bit stupid and going, we're all going to die. Because, it's plain as day, at least it was for me, that the whole thing was just complete nonsense. And it's been shown to be, but they're still pushing ahead. They're still pushing ahead with the Action Jackson that they want to get out. And as long as people hold their arm out and say, stick it in me, baby, then, they haven't got a hope. And then we're going to be the enemy. Oh, well, you've had the Action Jackson. So how can we be of any danger to you? Oh, but it's living in you, and then it's going to mutate, and it's going to become something else.
Not that, is it? Because I'm gonna add that bit of clip from my video in here, round here somewhere. That it's a chip they want to have. So they're telling everybody it's a virus, and actually it's a chip.
Yeah, but they're not going to tell people.
How else?
I don't. Go on.
That they've got. I mean, it's the only one that you can find where it's showing. That's where the installation, the big one is. But now look, these are all sub ones, and look where. There you go. My friend Richard lives just inside those two there. So maybe those are the lines he's picking up on. Yeah, just there, see? As long as those army bases are on those lines, because they use HARP for all sorts of things. Now, I went to this web page because obviously I was looking up HARP, and that's where the map is. And they say that we're wrapped with this donut-shaped magnetic field. Circular lines of magnetic flux continuously descend from the North and the South Pole. This is what me and Mike were talking about the other day, because we did a few years ago research on this. There you go, there's a bit of information. It's all to do with the Hertz frequency, which that we live comfortably in a certain frequency. They alter it just a tiny bit, and then everybody is living hell. It's called hell. And I just think that this whole thing is about controlling the people. We all know about explaining that narcissism is something, I think, which we're getting, some people say you're born with it, but I think that they're making people narcissistic by the television and so forth, and the programs that they're putting out on us, and the words they're saying, let alone the frequencies which are all around us, which I will add a little bit of this hangout because I think it's very important, because we were actually talking about this the other day. Anyway, you can read the information that they're saying, and it's just like, wow, yeah, golly. Anyway, there you go, there's a bit more information, and just look what HARP has in it. Controlling the weather, mind control, behaviour and mood control, and sending synthetic telepathy as infrared sound to victims with US government mind control implants. What the hell? There you go. So it's the weather and the people. The weather and the people. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop this video a minute, because you saw the map, didn't you? Let's go back to the map. The map there. Now, this map is a few good years old, right? And if this was here so many years ago, we've probably got more of those installations. I see that it goes over Africa here. They're in Australia. This one, look, you can see the big ones. There's one here, in England, and here. Now, what it is that when you're in this, you can't turn it off. You can't turn it off. So it's not like Russia go, hey, I want to go to war with America. I'm turning off my HARP. These countries who are in on this can't turn HARP off. So anybody that's got these HARP facilities is one of them, is part of their program. Whoever they are, whoever's doing this to us, because it's higher than the military, there's other people doing this, it's most disgusting, but they're all included in, they can't turn it off. And what is it doing? The weather and the people. The biggest thing they've got to do is to try and control us. So glad that I found this site. Look at that, just look at it. We should all be absolutely disgusted. They're affecting our weather and our minds, and it gets even worse when I go through this little bit of what I find out. So anyway, it's just disgusting. I have no other words. That I never thought we would be living in something like this. Anyway, it's a freedom forum to try and tell the people the truth. Anyway, we get down here. You can read all this. Just stop the page or find that for yourself. And I just can't get over that. Look at that. Mind control. That's what they reckon. Anyway, as we go down, starts talking about the hertz, which I told you, if it's slightly off, we're living in hell. And a lot of people don't feel very good to look at vaccine implants. There you go. It's all to do with this. This is why we've got to have the injection. To do with whatever they're doing via this. Because then they can mind control us more, and the information goes on and on and on. So that basically our children and all of us are living in hell. Look at it with the towers. Look at it with the, oh, let's go back and have a look at that again. So the jab is part of this. Into how it's going to affect our minds. And there you go. Look, there's just a little meme to explain it. What a brilliant meme with these stupid cell towers. Look at it. Anyway, so that is also in there because they use HARP. They can use it even to see what's in the ground. You know, if there's caves and there's minerals, they can do it for all sorts of things. But anyway, do find this site and read up yourself what HARP's about, because it's involved in this.
No, you went.
Now we're having technical problems, aren't we, Nigel? Anyway, I put out a bit of that video because it's a chip. It's nothing to do with the Lyras. They're calling it that to get us to have the chip. Yeah,
but they can't disguise it. They've got to disclose it. They've got to say that this is not a vaccine, this is a chip. But they're wanting people to voluntarily take it. They can't force it. They can't force it on us. Sure, they can make life difficult. Well, you can't get on a plane and yes, you've got it, and so on and so forth. But we can make life just as difficult. They can't prove that it exists. I mean, I've shown you that the CDC, the FDA, they actually they admit that they hadn't isolated it. So What are we fighting against? And now Deborah Birx has said,
I know what the difference is. I don't know why exactly, but before the virus, everybody was going to the hospital every day. You had to wait 4 hours not casualty. Was it casualty? Yeah. You had to wait 4 hours in casualty to see a doctor. And the moment the virus came on, they told us to stay at home. The hospitals exited, and nobody's been going back the same. And they obviously did want to go into the hospital because they did. Right. You know, imagine no resuscitation in the hospitals. You know, you go in. I thought they're supposed to save you. You go in there now, and it says no resuscitation. So they're trying to pay ILL you.
Well, they are. They're trying to. You know, people who need operation, people who have got other life-threatening illnesses and so on and so forth, weren't getting the treatment, and these people are the ones that have died. And these are not casualties. These are not casualties of war. This is murder. This is a crime against humanity. These politicians that have instigated this have literally committed treason, they've committed crimes against humanity, and they've essentially committed second-degree murder by preventing people who needed medical care. They prevented them from getting the medical care they needed. You know what I mean? People were dying of heart attacks because they needed a bypass. And
talked about the Second World War and it would never happen again. And they are doing it to us on a big scale. They were doing it to us in the Second World War and the First World War. People just didn't realise it was them doing it. Taking our children.
Well, the First World War, what people have got to try and understand, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but basically the First World War, in fact, all wars, all hot wars are bankers' wars. The idea is that they go out and they do as much destruction as possible, and then all those buildings and all that infrastructure that's been wiped out during the war has all got to be rebuilt. Well, where can the governments get the money to rebuild? They've got to borrow it from the bank.
With our Tartaria doing that.
That's right. That's right. But I think that was because they wanted to wipe out the technology. They wanted to wipe out the free energy. So, you know, we have to pay for electricity. Along with, you know, other stuff as well. They wanted to get rid of all the cheap, very cheap air travel, which were airships, balloons. So they created the Hindenburg, scared the shit out of everyone. That was the end of that. Then they could bring in the Rockefeller oil. And it's just all purely and simply been about raping the economy, raping the people of their finances, making them go to work, got to earn more money.
Well, the name of the hangout's going to be Life is like a pantomime. Life is a script. And that's exactly what it is. We're in the middle of a film. But what we can say to
we're in the middle of a play. I prefer to call it a play because what happens at the end of the play is people take off their costumes, they take down the scenery, and all you can see at the back of the room is a brick wall. And I think it was Frank Zappa who said that, or pretty much that. It's a play. The whole thing's a play. You can call it a movie if you want, but it's a play.
What we can say to people is, look, you don't believe us, you do believe us, or Nigel, what he's been saying. But everybody, share this video. Share it to everyone.
I don't want people to just sit back and believe me. I mean, because, as I say, I've done, and again, I'm not bragging, I'm not being an a-hole. I mean, I'm fortunate that my job affords me so much free time. You know, I mean, Karen, how many times have we sat and had a hangout, a chat for like 6, 7, 8 hours? No problem at all.
Nearly since I've met you now.
I know. But, you know, I've got so much free time. I admit I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. Not everybody can do what I do when it comes to research, but that's all I do. I spend all my free time either talking to you or researching, making PowerPoint presentations and stuff that allows me to put a lot of information out very quickly. I mean, you know, I've written 3 books. They're all free. The link will be below. Link will be in the description. Just go over there to my.
Add it in a comment. Add it in a comment under the. I'll pin your post.
It might not let me because there'll be a link.
All right, okay, but send it to me and then I'll add it to the post or I'll add it as a comment.
Okay. So you know, go over there. They're free. There's all sorts of other PPTs on there as well that are very, very interesting. And yeah, but the PowerPoint presentations, in my opinion,
they had to get us believing in something else, didn't they? So they made the churches, and then of course they've put it all through the Bible. You know, like the church have given us the beast, the devil, and all that. But they are the beast, they are the devil.
Well, people need to understand that the head of the snake essentially is the Vatican. It all goes back to the Vatican. The head of the snake is the Vatican. You do realise that Joe Biden is the only Catholic Pope or the first Catholic Pope since Kennedy.
President, you mean?
Sorry, President, talking about popes. The first Catholic president since Kennedy, or president-elect. I don't think he'll ever be president. And the funny thing is, you know, we were talking earlier about the number 46, about how Joe Biden's son died at the age of 46, Beau Biden. Biden would be the 46th president. The election was 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. It's all connected. And the word Catholic in gematria is 46. So
listen, I don't usually say things out front. I say it to myself, and then when it happens, I go, or I might mention it to one person. But I actually think that by the time Trump gets a few seats back, he will be president. I think that's the whole point. This is just another drama to take you away from constantly pounding me every day with the Daily Mail.
Well, I don't want to sound negative, and I really hope that this doesn't happen. But the way I see the way they're planning it is, had Trump got back in, then, you know, the social justice warriors and the loony libtards and that, they'll be back to the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa antics and doing all that kind of thing. Well, right now, they're quite happy. They're celebrating, they're having parties and so on and so forth. And they'll get quite comfortable.
Because, you know, like you've got those videos which basically, even when he had a talk with Hillary and the last thing that, well, she needs to be arrested. And then I put a video out, I told you about it, where basically Trump's just said, oh, she's all right. They're friends, they're cousins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Liars.
So the way I see them wanting to play this out. Now, I'm not saying this is how it's going to play out. This is how I see them wanting to play out. We know that they have wanted for a long time. They want some kind of civil unrest in the US. What we're actually witnessing is the attempted controlled demolition of America. Right? That is what we're seeing. I told you. I read you something this morning that I wrote back in February 2019.
Remember me and Amy telling me about the other government there is, and they've got their own flag. I can't remember, it's called the United States or something. This is how they could break it down differently. They'll just bring that in instead. I think Obama's in it. I can't remember how many people are in it. They never really showed you. They were going to vote for a president, but they haven't. You know, it might be another lie. It might be another false lead. But
probably. But the way I see them wanting to play this out is they get all the SJWs, the social justice warriors, they get the loony leftist libtards, they get them nice and pacified, get them nice and quiet and having parties and celebrating the Joe Biden's becoming president-elect. And then when the whole thing gets reversed and it's exposed for all the fraud and everything else that's been going on, and Trump gets back in, that is going to be the SHTF moment, because these loony left that have quite right now are quite so comfortable knowing or thinking that Biden's going to be the president, they are going to be devastated. They are going to be distraught, you know, because it's like, if they just lost, when I say they, I mean if they just simply felt that Biden lost the presidency, that's one thing. But in their minds, it's like giving them what they want and then taking it away, because that's I'm trying to think of, that is going to be much more profound. It's like you, right? I mean, I back in the UK many years ago, I used to run a bingo hall. If you went to bingo and you didn't win, big deal. But if you won 100 quid, for argument's sake, and after you'd been given that 100 quid, the manager said to you, well, actually, Karen, there was something wrong there. That book shouldn't have been sold to you, so you can't have that 100 quid. Now you're going to go mad. You're going to go pretty much ballistic, because you've given it, you thought you got it, you thought it was yours, and now it's been taken away from you. And that is going to cause more...
Cause riots. That's what they want. This is to cause riots.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, the way I see it, I think that the riots are going to be much more profound and there's going to be a lot more chaos.
They don't have to be real riots. Remember, they just make them up and put them on the television through the media.
Yeah,
and then
of course.
Not even real. Like, because you know what? Whatever you say, when they shut us down overnight, not one officer, police officer, not one soldier, and the whole world shut down overnight.
No.
So we're peaceful people.
Well, it's like all the businesses, right? I mean, you know, you can't open your hairdressers and you can't go and do your job, but it's okay for Sainsbury's and Tesco's and Walmart and Trader Joe's and all these quote-unquote essential businesses to open. Well, you know, your little business is essential to you. My little business is essential to me. You know, so all this nonsense about essential businesses and then going into certain stores and finding that...
What people have to realise is, not watch the television. It's all a bunch of lies.
Absolutely. But then I saw...
It probably made them years ago for today.
Is what?
They made the videos that they're going to show. They're going to show Trump will get back in,
and
then they'll show this.
It's all pre-made, pre-scripted. It's all Hollywood.
It's about Trump bringing martial law. That's what it'll be. But they made these videos maybe 6 months, 2-3 years ago for this time, and not current.
Right. You know what they make magic traditionally? You know what they make magic wands out of, don't you?
What's that?
Hollywood. Wood from the holly tree are used to make magic wands, to cast spells. They're made from the wood from the holly tree, i.e. Hollywood. Hollywood.
Well, we already know, don't we, with that document that you gave me that I put out the other day, that actors aren't what you think they are. They're all
nothing is what we think it is. Nothing is what we think it is. Nothing. There are a few exceptions, and when I mean a few exceptions, I'm talking about people like us in the truth community, people like us who have been becoming a little bit more spiritual. We understand, or are beginning to understand the spiritual side of our lives. We're beginning to understand who we are instead of what we are. So from that perspective, yes, that's real. But everything else is nothing. It's all fake. Everything is fake, apart from who we are. Even what we are is fake, because what we are is not who we are. So everything is fake, apart from our own spirituality, our own divine connection, the divine spark that we have. That is, and our spirituality. That is the only thing in this realm that's real. Everything else is fake. Everything. We have been lied to.
And it is hard to take on board. I mean, a lot of people who are awake realise that. But it is hard because they get you in this system, this material system, and everybody wants what they've got. Even people who think they're awake, they don't walk the walk because they still want their materialistic life.
That's right. They talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. Yeah. I mean, I really think that, you know, we say regularly that, you know, we're not taught any of this stuff in school. And I think it's because you can't actually teach it. There are certain things that literally cannot be taught. And I can give you a couple of examples. Many years ago, there's a word in English. It's called mnemonics. It's spelled with an MN, ENIC. Mnemonics, and it's a way of learning. It's a method of learning, but you can't actually teach mnemonics. You can only explain it. And mnemonics is a style of learning that you have to do for yourself. It's a way that, it's like, you know, in the UK when we were kids, we were taught how to spell the word because. Big elephants can always understand small elephants. Richard of York gave battle in vain. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet for the colours of the rainbow. This is a style of mnemonics. But when you take that down onto a deeper level, it's why English is taught in schools from a very early age, not just in English-speaking countries, but also in countries where English is second language, with songs and poems and stories. You know, and there's ways of remembering a certain word that you want to remember. So you create a. You do.
Oh, I've just put it back on.
Right. Would you like me to give you an example of what mnemonics actually is for the people who are listening? Just a quick one. All right. Let's say that, like in my case, because I live in China, I need to obviously converse in Chinese up to a point. So let's say I want to remember a particular Chinese word. And a really good example, one that I actually use in class as an example, is mu biao. Now, mu biao means target, aim, goal, something that you want to achieve, okay? So your goal is to do this, your target is to get there, and so on and so forth. Well, the word in Chinese is mu biao. So it's got 3 syllables, mu, bi, ao. So how can I remember that? All right, so I create this crazy story, and this is where, you know, it's difficult to teach because it doesn't work for everybody in the way that I'm going to explain it. So let's say I'm walking down the street and I you know, I really want to eat some beef, but I haven't got any. So what do? Oh, you go to the supermarket and buy some. Well, that's not crazy enough. So as I'm walking down the street, this cow falls out the sky, lands on the ground. First thing it says is moo, moo. Now, in order for me to eat the beef, I've got to shoot the cow. Now, the word I want to remember here is target, goal, aim. Now, the cow's actually got a target on its bum, so I've got to shoot the cow. But the only thing that I've got is a bow and arrow. But my arrows are made of bees, right? My bow is my bow, but my arrows are made of bees. So I have the word bee there now. And then when I shoot the cow, and the cow says, ow. So a crazy story, a cow falls from the sky, I'm shooting this cow with a bow and arrow with arrows that are made of bees, and the cow says, ow, afterwards. So that gives me my 3 syllables, mu, bi, ow. Put them together, you get mu, biao, which is the word I want to remember, which is target. Now that's what we call mnemonics. That's how mnemonics work. And it can be traced back to a long time ago, long before, you know, people had books and people could read, and people, you know, of course there was no internet and none of that. So, you know, people had to learn. So,
sorry. Nigel was kicked off again. We call it the Adjustment Bureau, don't we?
Yeah, they're kicking me out. The Adjustment Bureau don't want us talking about this. So, yeah, it's stuff that you can't learn from textbooks. You can be inspired by, you know, you and I, you've read me some beautiful things from some of the books that you've got, and you can read those kind of books, and you can get some inspiration. They will help you to find yourself, for want of a better word. I know that sounds all corny, But that really is what people have got to do, because this world ain't what you think it is.
No. Nigel, we've been going for an hour and a half. Do you think that's enough for people this time?
Oh, I think we can go another 10 minutes or so. The last couple we've done have been about an hour and 3/4. I mean, you know, is there anything that you want to share, Karen? I mean, we do these things, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's me that's throwing everything at you.
All the information. I am going to, obviously, I might have already put it in the video. I think that bit is really relevant with the heart.
Yeah, I agree.
I already knew that bit was, because it's in that document. That's what they're saying. And that document was written about 2008. So it's not a new one. It was written a long time ago. A Freedom Forum wrote it. So
well, I think the biggest takeaway from all these kinds of podcasts and hangouts and that is that, you know, people need to understand there's more of us than there are of them. Now, that is completely different.
The Americans have got guns as well. We don't, but they do.
That's why. I mean, America's going to be the big test, in my opinion. If America goes, even Trump said, if America goes down, the rest of the world's going to follow. America is pretty much, for the most part, the only country on earth where the citizens are still armed. And thank God they are, because if they've been successful in gun grabs,
they are.
If the government in America had been successful in the gun grabs that they've done in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and all the other countries across the world, then I think we would all be in big shit right now. But the militia, or the potential militia in America, because American people are so well armed, that is going to be, that's pretty much the only saving grace we've got, is that the people rise up. I mean, there is no need for violence, right? It really should be non-compliance. Protests don't work. Sure, they're great fun. You feel good at the time, but those arseholes are just sitting back watching it on the TV, going, yeah, carry on, doesn't matter. We'll just ban protests next, and so it goes on. But so the you know, for me, I went to the supermarket today. They asked me to put a mask on. I said no.
You also said something else, that wearing the mask gives you pneumonia. So that's what they wanted.
Well, it can create bacterial infections, yeah.
There's no resuscitation at the hospitals.
Well, they want to diminish our immune system so we get sick. When we get sick, we get weak, we get frustrated. We start asking for help. We need doctors and nurses. We need the hospitals open.
People don't realise what medication's about. Like, if you take an antidepressant, it might cull your feelings, but it stops you connecting from your higher self to yourself. They've constantly tried one way or another. Anxiety is a big money-making thing anyway.
Absolutely. Anxiety, stress, depression, because you take the tablet and you feel okay, but when the effects of the tablet wear off, you're back to being depressed again. You know, all they've ever done, you know, I've been saying this for 30, 40 years. I would walk into the doctor's surgery and he's already writing out the prescription. Yeah, he didn't even know what was wrong with me. So,
you know, I find also alarming is that they've done no testing on injections since the 1960s.
That's right.
So how could they be doing all this stuff now about the virus when they haven't done any testing since the 60s? It's all a bit bizarre.
Because it's all the same thing. I mean, my dad was stupid enough to get the flu vaccine every year, and of course he always got the flu. I'm like, well, try not getting it and not getting the flu. You know, if you eat well, if you eat healthy, I don't want to say if you eat the right foods. Let me turn that around and say if you don't eat the wrong foods. Stay away from junk foods. You know, pizza's okay once a month, and I'm not preaching, I'm just saying, you know, try and eat as healthy as you can. You'll keep your immune system going, and you won't get ill.
And not just that, we don't quite understand what all those G's are about. You know, they've actually made 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They just haven't put them out yet. And how can you put a whole system out to the world that they haven't even tested, and the government's just letting it roll through? Because
it's all planned. It's all this is all based on Bill Gates and his cronies, their depopulation agenda. Now we've been conned again because we all live in cities, and we actually think that that the place is overpopulated. But for anybody out there that actually wants to spend half an hour and work it all out and do the maths, then please go ahead. But if there really are, or really is, 8 billion people on Earth, and I don't think there are 8 billion people on Earth, but if there were right now 8 billion people on Earth, you could put them all in Texas and give each one of them 1 acre of land, and no other part of the Earth would be occupied. You could put every single person in Texas with 1 acre of land, but we're overpopulated.
Do you know something else we looked up the other day? We were doing it privately. We were doing it on a private talk with Amy. We were looking at the maps, and in the 1500s, they've got the 4 rivers, which is huge at the top, which they're calling Greenland now. But Antarctica and Australia were part of Antarctica. They linked. So South America.
Yeah, it was all Australasia. Yeah, it's on a lot of the older maps. But I actually think. Yeah.
Some flood has happened, and then now South America doesn't attach itself to Antarctica, and now we've got Australia. So
yeah,
they were those maps are probably much more the truth. Well, anyway, and England was a lot bigger. The depicting in England is bigger than they're showing it on the maps now.
Definitely. Now, I think a lot of these what are known as Renaissance maps, these Renaissance period maps, I think a lot of them have either been inserted into our his story, or they're just complete nonsense. I mean, Christopher Columbus, CC 33, Captain Cook, CC 33. It's all nonsense. We've got no idea really what this realm is. So, and I don't think we'll ever know. I really don't think we'll ever know. Maybe we will when we pass over.
It reminds me a bit. I'm not saying it's exactly, but do you remember the film Saw? So about 10 years ago, they did 1, 2, 3, and I don't know how many others they did. So basically, the guy captures them, and then they've got to get out of the building. And even when they think they've almost got them, they're pressing the button, they get incinerated and stuff like that. It's like that. Like you almost get there with the proof or whatever you think. But no, there's another layer. You still got to go on. Yeah. There's still more.
Well, I don't want to sound morbid. So again, don't take this the wrong way. Anybody listening to this, don't take this the wrong way. But we are ingrained from the moment that we are old enough to realise, or old enough to talk. We are ingrained with the belief that, or the fear of death, the fear of physical death, and that's what all this whole realm is about.
You read it in that book, didn't you? It's okay to die in your book, the book you were reading. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've all died before. Some people can remember past lives. Some people can come to that realization through hypnosis or hypnotherapy or whatever. But our biggest fear is death, and it's designed that way. They feed off our fear. These lower entities, and they do exist, been proven to exist, whether you want to believe in demons or not. Aliens are demons. That's all they are. They certainly exist, and they feed off negative energy. They feed off our lower vibrations. This is why, and I don't want to. Again, I don't want people to think that I'm going somewhere that's not comfortable, because I'm trying to talk on an objective, or from an objective perspective. Our lowest chakras are essentially between our legs. That's our lowest chakra, and this is why everything that you see on Hollywood, TV, if it's not actually about sex, they've got sexual connotations. Something's hidden in there. You know, you can find NASA's CGI picture of the globe, and it's got sex in the clouds. You can go and buy. Sorry, I think it's the Lion King. The Lion King movie's got it in the clouds. Eh?
Sex sells.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it also keeps people in that lower vibration. It stops them from raising their vibration, because once you start to raise up through your chakras and you become awake, or you begin to awake, then the physical side of this existence, i.e., quote unquote sex, actually becomes less important. And I'm not the only one that I've that I've heard say that. I've known many friends who are quote unquote awake, who used to be, really horny little buggers before they did, and then it's like, well, yeah, take it or leave it. Doesn't really bother me, eh?
You just need your special one.
Yes, absolutely. But okay, I'm meaning sex in general. I've got a mate, and he's probably going to end up listening to this, so I'm not going to mention his name. Now, he's a flat earther. He knows everything's bullshit. We talk on the phone. I throw some of this stuff at him that you and I talk about. Absolutely blow his mind. But then he always wants to get to turn the subject back towards women. He always wants to turn it back towards going and finding out someone that he can just have a one-night stand with, kind of thing. And I'm like, bro, you might think you're awake, but you're focusing on something that is really not important. If you're gonna go into a relationship with somebody who's, and you're gonna have a really loving relationship on that higher level, then sure, that physical side is important, because it's not sex anymore, it's making love. That is why there's a huge difference between having sex and making love. And I don't want to dwell on this subject, but what I'm trying to say is that the beast system wants to keep our vibration as low as it possibly can. And that's where our lowest vibration is. Once we're focused on that and that only, then it's very, very difficult for somebody to raise their vibration.
Relationships start because they've had sex first. They get drunk, they go to the pub, they have sex, and then if they like each other afterwards, they might carry on. Instead of meeting each other and getting to know each other, they do it the wrong way round.
Absolutely. Well, that's what you and I we were talking about privately the other night. Getting to know someone before you actually meet someone, as opposed to meeting someone in a pub and then getting to know them. Sure, it could work out, but I think there's actually a big difference. I think if people get to know each other,
we don't fall in love, we rise in love.
Yeah, we rise. We don't fall in love, we rise in love. Now, a really good mate of mine, who I was telling you about earlier on, when we spoke privately. Again, he's from the UK. He's married to a very, very beautiful Chinese girl. They knew each other as friends for 15 years before they finally got together, in the way that is quite obvious, and they are blissfully happy. Blissfully happy. I mean, they're both, I think he's in his 40s, she's like 4 or 5 years younger than him, but they are blissfully happy. I don't think I've ever met or known a happier couple in our generation, right? In our generation. My mum and dad, they've been married for like 70 million years, and they're quite happy. But I'm talking about people from our generation. These guys are blissfully happy, and it is so wonderful to see. But by the time they got together in the physical, they'd actually known each other for 15 years in the non-physical. So they knew everything about each other. Well, they didn't. Let me rephrase that. They knew each other as friends for 15 years. And then just before they got together, or the reason they got together, was because they started to get to know each other on a deeper level, and then they got together. But the point I'm making is that they got to know each other before they got together. And for most people, they do it the other way around. They meet someone, could be at work, could be in the pub or whatever. Oh, I like you, I fancy you. Yeah, I fancy you. So they do what comes natural. Then they get together and try and get to learn to understand and get to know each other. And you're now on a 50-50 in my or I won't say in my opinion, but from my experience, you now got a 50-50 chance of it working.
So read the words from that book then, because I think it's quite profound, because a lot of people don't even tell the truth.
No, they don't.
That's what this book. So read the words.
Look, it's not always about lying when you say about telling the truth. I think for a lot of people, especially in early relationships, what they end up doing is they say what they think the other half wants to hear, right? I mean, let me give you a classic example. If you put on a new dress and you said to me, you know, the typical, does my bum look big in this? And I turned around to you and said, darling, your bum looks big in everything. That isn't what you want to hear, right? You want to hear, no, you're fine, looks great. That's a white lie. But what I'm doing, what I would be doing, I would be telling you what I think or what I know you want to hear. And you can drag that out exponentially, and that's just a really, really simple, basic example. But for the most part, people tell each other what they think the other person wants to hear, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
So I read this bit from the book.
Sorry?
So I read this bit from the book, because ultimately, as couples and people, this is where we should be going, I think.
You can read. Look, it's your channel, babe. You'll hang out, read whatever you want.
Anyway, it's from a book called Two Hearts Are Better Than One, and that's what the book's called. Anyway, it says, love can be a terrifying prospect. On one hand, we seem to want it more than anything, and on the other hand, it brings up anything unlike itself, and often we want to run away from the dark side of falling in love. Falling in love is not the answer, because falling for someone is usually the expression of a hopeless longing to have someone take care of you forever, which is not the stuff that great relationships are made of. Rising in love is a much better solution, and two people who love themselves choose to be together. There is twice as much love for each of them. Most relationships begin unconsciously, and when the conception of anything is off, how can the fruition be anything but flawed? So the first step is to get clear what you want, so you recognize it when it comes along. Your mind is so accustomed to what it doesn't want, it has to be trained to see what it really desires, but is unaccustomed to receiving. And the second step is, once you do attract that perfect partner, is to sit down and tell them all your fears and get through the terror fast, and allow the love to replace the fear and build the habit of telling the truth from the first day of your relationship. And I think that goes for friendships as well, because even as friends,
yes,
we don't want liars as friends, do we?
Absolutely.
So absolutely. It's just we should be, you know, if only we looked at things differently. But when, you know, our parents, listen, I think my parents are war children. They didn't tell me anything. All they did was argue. So all me and my brother watched when we were growing up was them arguing. Our parents didn't teach us right. And anyway, they're first generation war children, and, you know, wars do affect people. This probably will affect
absolutely.
Us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got babies coming along, and they're telling you can't sleep with your boyfriend, only if you're living together or married. How can they tell you that? They're trying to stop people having babies, just like they did in China.
They're trying to. What they're trying to do is they're trying to drive people into even more fear by saying that, you know, look, if you're gonna make love with your boyfriend or your wife or your partner or whatever, then you got to wear a mask, because, you know, otherwise you're going to kill her. Well, you haven't killed her for the last 20 years, so why are you suddenly going to kill her tomorrow when they make you wear a mask? I mean, it's just nonsensical. It's all about seeing how many people are going to comply, how many people are going to roll over and go, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, instead of turning around and saying, bullshit, stick it up your ass, we're not complying, piss off, go away.
We already did this on a hangout, Nigel, when what it is because Costa was there and he's Greek. And basically he said meant in Greek is mind. So govern the mind. Yeah. Government means govern the mind.
Well, if you think of the word meant, which it actually comes from Latin, not Greek. Sorry to correct you. It's
Sorry, carry on.
The Latin word is mentis, and ment is the root word of mentality. Okay, even though in English meant on its own is not necessarily a word, but it is the root of mentality. And the verb to govern means to rule or control. So quite literally, government means to rule or control the mind. Now, in China, the Chinese word for government is zhengfu, and if you type that into if you look that up in a dictionary, it will say government. It will say that's the meaning of government, but it's two words, zhengfu. Zheng means politics, and fu essentially means mansion or big house. So in China, we're talking about now the difference between a meaning and a translation, and this is so profound and this is so important. When we look at the word government, we think it means what we think it means. But when you break it down into govern and meant, it has a completely different meaning. So here in China, when you say the word zhengfu, they go, oh yeah, that's the government. They think of it as being the same way that we think government is. But when you break it down into the two words, it basically means, translates as big house of politics. So we have what we've got in English and other languages as well. You've got what we call the meaning. What does that mean? And then you've got the translation. What does it actually, once you break that word down, what does it actually break down to? Now, are you there?
I am.
Right, I've got to keep checking because I've been kicked out so many times. Now, let's take the word automobile, right? Automobile means, or we think of it as meaning car. But mobile means to move. And auto is short for automatic, which means, on its own by itself. So the word automobile that we actually agree means car, you break the word down and it actually means automatic mover, automatic moving thing, essentially, which has got no relationship to car whatsoever. And you can do that with many, many words. I do it in class all the time. I love to have fun in this way. And I'll write something on the board. I'll go, okay, horture. What does horture mean? And they go, oh, it means train. Horture is a train. Okay, break it down. Two words. Hort means what? Fire. Chur is what? Car. Okay, so where does train come from? Because the actual word horture means fire car. Doesn't mean train, it means fire car. Classic is shoji. Shoji is your phone. What does shoji mean? Shoji means mobile phone. Okay, well, let's break it down into sho and ji. Sho means hand. Ji means machine. So the meaning might be mobile phone, but the actual translation, or the actual, not the meaning, the essence of the word sho and ji actually means hand machine. So we have these meanings that are taught to us and we don't even give them a second thought. But when we look at these words and break them down and understand that the meanings are completely different. We've spoken at length, about the Admiralty law, right? Now, you still there?
I am. I'm here.
Right. Sorry, I've got to keep checking. Admiralty law, which is why we have so many words ending in ship. We spoke about this. Citizenship, friendship, membership, relationship, all these words ending in ship. I do a whole podcast on this, but something that is really, really interesting. When we were talking about Tartaria, and we know that Tartaria or Russia was originally Tartaria, the emperor or the boss, the old boss of Russia, was known as a Tsar, right? Whether you want to spell it T-Z-A-R or C-Z-A-R, it was the Tsar of Russia. Now, when we were talking about the invasion, about the Atlanteans coming over, the boss was the Tsar of the sea, Caesar. That's where the word Caesar comes from. And the people that used to work on the boats and got them here, how do you move a boat? You row a boat. So these guys were rowman. Roman. We don't think of this kind of stuff because we're not taught it. Nobody suggests it. So Caesar was the Tsar of the sea, and the people the oarsmen that rowed the boats were rowmen or Roman.
Yeah, we've done those words before, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't.
No. Another Hangouts. We've done these words.
Yeah, but I don't think we've done them on a podcast.
Not with you, no.
Right, but you can take this to wherever you want to go. Oh, one thing that I forgot to put in the PPT was, again, the relationship back to the Jesus, he's us from the previous podcast, and we were talking about how all this whole army of quote unquote Jesuses were spreading all over the earth, trying to wake people up, trying to let them know that they got the spark of divinity.
Jesus.
So what is the biblical Jesus? One of his miracles, helping the blind to see. Think about that on a different level. Think about that on a higher level.
Nigel, I always thought that you have to put it in context. It was about I never thought it was actually someone going ding with the Hollywood and then they stand up and they can see and walk. I actually thought it meant other things.
With the best will in the world, darling, you and I get this, you and I understand this, but there's going to be people listening to this podcast on your channel and my channel that probably haven't made those connections and go, shit, yeah, it's right there in front of your face. It's been right there in front of my face all my life, but I've never thought about it in that way.
Never understood our own language or what it means. That's what it is.
Absolutely. We just take it for granted. So the purpose of the podcast that you and I are doing is really and truly, as far as I'm concerned, just to try and get people to try and think just outside the box, just think in a slightly different way. And if you think about something that I've said or something that Karen said, and that leads you to something that, completely different, then come back and tell us and go, wow, look what I found. Because we can't do all this together. We don't have time for what Russian Vids calls baby truthers. We haven't got time. It's not fair on the people that have already, been on this journey, spent time researching, are on the same level or the similar level to where we are. We haven't got time to train people from kindergarten. But people who are on a similar level or the same level, who notice...
We spent years as, flat earthers, trying to wake people up along the way. But maybe it's not about trying to wake the people up anymore. You're either there or you're not there anymore. We haven't got, like you said, got time to try and wake millions of people up right now.
Well, I think that's where we're at now. Because this truth movement...
If the people don't get the lyras, they're not going to get the rest.
That's right. This truth movement started gaining ground. I mean, I know there's a lot of stragglers, a lot of people, individual people who've been awake for a long, long time. But I'm talking about the truth movement as a whole, actually gaining ground and starting to make a big difference somewhere around 2015. So as a group, as a much bigger group, we've only been around for like 5 years. And 5 years is a long time, because once people begin to understand and begin to realize that everything's a deception, then they will naturally go away and start researching and doing research.
Headlines. Right. Well, we lost Nigel. He's come back. I'm going to show you a few of them. 1 second, everybody. It takes a little time to load up. Oh my goodness, come on.
Well, while that's loading, can I just throw something in?
Go on then.
What they're doing now is they're saying that with all the lockdowns and the restriction on travel and so on and so forth, and the fact that there's not been so much air travel and so on and so forth. Oh, look, how wonderful this has been for climate change. So now we need to focus more on climate change, because the air's cleaned up a lot, and there's been so much less pollution. Well, during the lockdowns, people have not been driving their cars, not been travelling on aeroplanes, and so on and so forth. So that's the other half of the agenda. You'll notice Greta, our friend Greta's back on the scene as well. Greta Thunberg. How dare you? You know, she's back on the scene as well. So again, it all plays its part. It all rolls into the same agenda.
So, just showing you a couple of the headlines that are coming in today from the Daily Mail. So that's one of them.
The Daily Fail, awesome newspaper.
Oh, hang on, my recorder's just moved across, of course. It would have to do that. 1 second. This is the second one. This is what the Daily Mail are putting out as we've been on the Hangout. These have come through.
By now that there's nothing that they should believe. If it's on the news, they shouldn't. There's nothing that should be believed. It's all lies. But what they're going to do, you see.
PM refers to the previous president as he welcomes the refreshing discussion with Joe Biden about climate change and NATO at Prime Minister's questions. But I mean, as he's not the president, I don't understand why he's doing all these talks with him. He's not. Anyway, it's all part of the game.
Well, the problem is, again, I'm not saying I'm right. This isn't what I believe. I don't believe anything. This is what I think. This is my opinion. And my opinion is quite simply this: that Donald Trump was the first person that spoke about fake news. What happens then is that puts the whole population, that all of us, into the mindset that nothing we see on the news is true, nothing, and we kind of go, well, I'm not going to watch the news anymore because everything I see on there is nonsense and rubbish. But then all the news has to do is start telling us the truth, and we're going to dismiss it as lies. So it's a double bluff. It's the boy who cried wolf. Classic example of the boy who cried wolf. We all know that story.
I think that's what might be going on now, when the press have put Biden in there, and at the end of it, we're going to get Trump, and now they've been told to shut up while the other things are happening. While the courts.
The problem is, Karen. The problem is, darling, we're never gonna know, because we've been put. You've got half the population that are looking at the news every day to get all their what's going on in the world. Then you've got people like us that know that we don't believe anything that we see on the news. So once the news starts putting out genuine information, we're going to dismiss it as being fake.
Because we don't know what
they've got both sides covered. They've had both sides covered for decades. They've got both sides covered. They tell us the news is fake. They put out so much fake news.
Nigel, they do tell you the truth. They put it on documents. But the thing is, we the people have to find those documents. They don't just put it on the news. They put it out there on the forums, on the health things. But unless you go and find it, you don't see it. They do. They hide it.
That's right. That's right. And that's why they put that FDA thing about the no isolation of the virus. That's why they put it on page 39. If they put it on page 1,
Gillian found it. Put it on the debt one, and she found it and read it. The debt, what they're going to do through the debt thing.
What? No, I was talking about the virus on the FDA website on page 39. It's not on page 38. It's not on page 38 or page 41. It's on page 39.
It's about making sure that we don't own anything, and that we've got to have the VAC, and otherwise, and they're going to put us into the fact that we're going to be owned even more.
Well, that's what they want, but what you're missing. I mean, I know you hate the numbers, but a 9 is simply an inverted 6. So Page 39 is 360s, 666. They've got to encode it all the time.
They love making us go off on all those things, don't they? That's what the television's about. It's about so that you're so confused you don't even know what's right or wrong.
Yeah, and that's why they want. That's why they want people like us chasing our own tails. That's why it gets more and more difficult.
Can I just say we've been going for 2 hours 10 minutes now. That's probably enough for a hangout because everything
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Got to take on.
Definitely.
But I do say to everybody, you know, share this video, share it to the world, let everybody know the truth. Can I just say, Nigel, thank you so much for all your time and effort into this, by the way.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. We are making a difference. We are making a difference. We've both seen that. We are making a difference.
Anyway, love you, Nigel.
Love you too, baby.
Anyway, for this hangout, we're finishing now. And thanks very much for watching. And as I say, thank you very much, Nigel, for all the effort and making the presentation for today to explain it to people again.
You're welcome.
So, goodbye from us. So thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Chaplain.
All right, babe.